Prime Minister Narendra Modi was only the third person that Japanese leader Shinzo Abe followed on Twitter. The first was his wife, the second a Japanese politician, the third was India's Prime Minister. Japan is being called India's new best friend. Tokyo and New Delhi coming together to take on a surging China. I want to go across live to Tokyo tonight. Joining us from there is my colleague Gaurav Sawant. He's reporting this evening from the heart of Tokyo at a place called Chiyoda, which is where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be tomorrow. Also with us on this broadcast is Ambassador K.C. Singh, former Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs. Gaurav, give our viewers a sense of the big build-up in Tokyo ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. This is only the first country that he's visiting outside of the subcontinent. Modi's indicating to Tokyo that Japan is special. What's the feeling on the ground?
That this is a special relationship that the two prime ministers intend to take to the next level. This is his first visit as the prime minister, but his third visit to Japan. He's visited here twice as the chief minister and enjoys a very warm relationship with Shinzo Abe, the prime minister of Japan. And a lot of significance is being attached to this visit. Right now where we are in Chiyoda, the prime minister would be coming here. He would be staying here. There are a lot of people on the streets. Not so much for the excitement that people from the Indian embassy are coming and going from here, because there are a lot of film actors who are coming and going on this street. This is a street that has a lot of theatres. Now, as far as Prime Minister Narendra Modi's his trip is concerned, it begins in Kyoto tomorrow, and that is the cultural significance. Kashi to Kyoto, the religious cities, the significance of the emotional bonds, the bond of Buddhism between the two countries. That's one aspect. The second aspect, Rahul, which is extremely important, is how is it that Kyoto, being such a heritage city, an old city, it has over 1,600 temples. It is still such a modern city, and can that experience of Kyoto be replicated in Kashi? That is something that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his team will be studying. As far as India and Japan are concerned, it's the economic relationship that they intend to take to the next level. Infrastructure, whether it's bullet trains, whether it's railway stations, that's something they will focus on. And also the strategic relationship between India and Japan, whether it's the U-2 amphibious aircraft, maritime exercises between Indian Navy and the Japanese Navy, can that be taken to the next level? Can India and Japan come together to take on China, that's really spreading its wings in this entire region?
Ambassador K.C. Singh,
that's important. With me here is Arun.
I'm coming back to you, Gaurav. Just give me a moment. Ambassador K.C. Singh, this particular relationship is being looked at in the context of the border dispute that India has with China along its northern borders. Japan has territorial disputes with China. America is encouraging trilateral partnership between India, Japan and the United States. There were joint naval exercises very recently. Is this part of a larger geostrategic framework where Prime Minister Modi and Shinzo Abe want to come together to try and counter the might of a rising China?
Look, we can't frame it like that, though that is the reality. But to frame it like that would be to start a new Cold War. Now, India has always been for multipolarity. We don't want a new confrontation with the rise of China. And yet there is the reality of the rise of China with its aggressiveness in the last 5-6 years all along its periphery, not only with us, but all along South China Sea, East China Sea. And there is this assertiveness which is to be somehow balanced. So we are going into, and India does not get into alliances. So it is not a new alliance that India and Japan or India, Japan and US are going to have. So this is a flexible arrangement between like-minded countries. At the same time, we'll have to continue to deal with China. But Japan is an extremely important country for us because the drama in the first half of the 21st century will be played out on the periphery of China, will be played out in Asia Pacific, rather the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. And we, that is India and Japan, are the two extremities of it. They are in the Far East and we are situated in South Asia. We guard very vital lines of communication, passing on to the whole of East Asia, and therefore it becomes a very important relationship. Now, it does not mean that we should turn this into some kind of an anti-China front. I don't think even Japan wants that, but at the same time, the personal relationship, which some evidence of that we've been seeing between Prime Minister Abe and Prime Minister Modi. We've seen Prime Minister Modi tweet, and then this morning we saw 2 counter tweets coming from Prime Minister Abe, which is really exceptional. You normally don't see it. And here we are, where a new Japan has emerged under Prime Minister Abe. They have opened up defense exports. They are an extremely important partner to have for cutting-edge technologies, defense and civilian areas. They are already partnering us in the north-south high-speed corridor which we have between Delhi and Mumbai.
The communist
we want similar
newspaper
sort of infrastructure
in
development.
Japan,
Now, that
in
doesn't
China
mean we
has
exclude
reported,
China.
Global Times newspaper is reporting in May that India gets close to Japan at its own peril. Now this has appeared in the Communist Party newspaper. So explain to our viewers, how much of a factor will China be when Shinzo Abe and Narendra Modi meet, Gaurav? Because is it going to be like the gorilla in the room that everyone's got their focus on, even if they don't want to mention it explicitly? How important a role will China be playing in these deliberations, and a plan to try and counter the rising dragon? Gaurav.
I can't get the sound.
Well, as Ambassador KC Singh rightly pointed out, while no one will actually talk about China in as many words, but this entire effort of India and Japan coming together, this relationship is not China-centric. China is not the reason for this relationship being taken to the next level. These are, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi's team have been emphasizing throughout, the team has been emphasizing throughout, that this relationship goes back several generations. It's from the 6th century that you see this relationship that is coming forward now. Now India wants to take advantage of Japan's development in the field of infrastructure, whether it's bullet trains, whether it's the north-south corridor, the Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train, whether it's these 100 smart cities. How is it that Japan has done it, and can India replicate it? That is how you move forward to the next level. At the same time, defense ties are extremely important, and for once you see a new Japan. You see a Japan that's actually changing the way it looks at itself, the way it looks at its neighbors. It's flexing its own military muscle, and that is where not just India but several other countries in this region play a very important role. You have the United States, Japan, India, and India being the pivot of Asia. This relationship is going to be taken forward where defense and national security tensions will play a very significant role, Rahul.
Ambassador KC Singh, defense cooperation between India and Japan is not as developed as defense cooperation between India and Russia, India and Israel, India and the United States. How much of synergy do you see between the mutual interests of New Delhi and Tokyo when it comes to defense cooperation, and how much of a force multiplier can Japan be for India, sir?
Look, till now Japan was not constitutionally or legally capable of exporting defense technologies. They've just changed their law. So now they are on the global stage. Now in a number of areas they have cutting edge technologies. Diesel submarines, they have about the best, as good as the German HEW submarines. Amphibious aircraft, they again have cutting edge technologies. Don't forget, they are one of the few countries which is participating in the development of the 5th generation aircraft with US, that is the F-35. So they are at the cutting edge of defense technologies, because many of these technologies are dual use. They go from civil to the military. So Japan can be an extremely important partner as it emerges as a defense supplier of global ranking.
Okay, I'm going to leave it over there for the time being. Ambassador KC Singh and Gaurav Sawant for joining us with your valuable thoughts on this big visit. Japan is part of Modi's Look East policy. This is where he's deploying a lot of his attention. In fact, people within the Prime Minister's office have been saying that the attention has been far more on the Indo-Japan visit than on the Washington and New York visit that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to make in the last week of September. That is how important Japan is for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and it is being reciprocated by Tokyo as well. Bodes well for India. They're not discussing this publicly, but we've got mutual interest in coming together and aligning against China, and that is really a key part of this relationship as well. Ambassador KC Singh and Gaurav Sawant for joining us tonight with your thoughts. Thank you. Gaurav will be live through this weekend reporting from Japan on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's big visit.